Well, the controversial Ghana-US military cooperation agreement was also topical at the BBC World Questions First recording program in Ghana. The program allows the public to question and debate politicians, leaders and opinion formers face-to-face on local and international issues. It was chaired by the BBC's Jonathan Dimbleby, and members of the panel were Esla Owusu Ekufo, Communications Minister, Bright Simmons, who is the President of Pedigree, Bishop Tutu Ofer, who is the General Secretary of the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, as well as Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, Special Aide to former President Mahama. There is more in this report by Benis Abubeidu.
The entire debate was led with questions from the audience. The first one was on the controversial Ghana-US military deal and what the panelists believe its impact will be. Here's what transpired.
We're living in an increasingly dangerous neighborhood where the terrorist activity around us and on our borders in Cote d'Ivoire and in Burkina Faso, we've seen an increased military activity, terrorist activity. We may not be able to have the capability on our own to resist that, to have forward knowledge of or advanced intelligence about those activities. We do need international cooperation to fight transnational organized crime and terrorist activity.
Sorry,
and that's exactly what we're doing.
Let me just pursue that a tiny bit further then. Are you saying that you can envisage a situation where not only training happens of Ghanaian troops, but that American soldiers join Ghanaians either using intelligence or using weapons to assist Ghanaian defense?
We are not at the point where we have to actively defend ourselves. We do need the intelligence that the US and other friendly countries can provide us that we may not have the capability of acquiring on our own. But if it comes to actively defending ourselves, yes, not just the US, but all other friendly countries will be called in aid. And I think that's what military cooperation agreements over the years, which we have been willing parties to have done. This is nothing new.
Right, Simons, what do you think?
I'm fascinated by these grandstanding politicians, as always, you know. The first U.S. military base in this country was in 1942, headed by a gentleman called Brigadier Fitzgerald. Now, what is fascinating is that that arrangement was made by the colonial authorities. Nearly a century after, we had the situation where our political elite have continued to sign various defense cooperation agreements with the U.S. that, by my estimation, are actually worse in terms of the reciprocity compared to what the British actually signed with the U.S. in 1942. The problem is that if you compare the quality of the agreements that we have with the U.S. since 1998 to those that other countries have with the U.S., ours is not of the requisite quality. And that's from 1988.
Okay.
So the political elite has to acknowledge that they've not done right by us as a starting point. As a starting point.
Bishop Gideon, I read somewhere that you think you have written that Ghana's run by insane politicians. Are they sane in respect of this?
The partisan approach in discussing this issue is what is creating confusion. I'm confused, and I believe that most of you here are confused. And sometimes it's a very deliberate attempt by our politicians to make sure we don't understand what is going on, and then they pass it through and everybody keeps quiet. What Ghanaians are asking for is the balance between security and national sovereignty. Once we find that balance, every Ghanaian understands that in the world of global terrorism, we need military cooperation, we need security cooperation. We agree that American intelligence bodies are far ahead of us. We need them. With Boko Haram knocking at our doors and other things, we need them. But what Ghanaians are looking for is that balance.
Are you saying that balance is not there, or you're not sure whether the balance is there?
We are not being told whether the balance is there.
Back to the audience for reactions.
Do the public of Ghana know the intelligence that our security agencies have received in the past from the U.S. to help us keep the peace that we enjoy today?
And the guy over there in the very Ghanaian shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, my name is Dandas Wega. I want to ask, why does the U.S. want to build a military base in a shithole country.
Joyce Bal-Mokhtari responded to the last question about the U.S. president's vulgar description of Africa.
Unfortunate comments, uncharacteristic of any American president that we've ever actually encountered. But of course, this is a totally different administration. It actually brings into question, really, why we still want to put aside our national interests, our national sovereignty, and subject ourselves regularly to this sort of comments by a leader of a country that we consider as an ally.
Forgive me, you've sort of changed your tune, haven't you? There you were in government, quite happy to surrender your sovereignty, and now you're starting to say, oh no, we're not going to do that.
Well, on this point, Jonathan, I think I'll disagree. I do think that we do have existing agreements that have been here in the past. In terms of military cooperation, we have always indeed had military cooperation, not just with the US, but several other countries. I believe that this particular agreement, as it describes itself in its preamble, is an enhanced agreement. It does contain other portions that are separately different from what we had before.
BBC World Questions has been to a few other countries, so why Ghana and why now? Producer Charlie Taylor explains.
Ghana is at a really interesting stage. The government, still relatively new, has made some grand claims and grand ambitions. Move Ghana beyond aid, to put a factory in every district of the country. It's a good time to critique what's going on. What we hope to achieve is to demonstrate to a world audience the kind of issues, the kind of place in development, the kind of things that energize Ghanaians, but at the same time show what Ghanaians think about world issues. So we talked today about America's economic sanctions or tariffs against China. We talked about military deals, worldwide deals. We talked about issues which are international as well as domestic. So there's two things. Show the world what goes on in Ghana, but also what Ghana thinks about the world.
After this subject, the debate focused on other matters, including the future of LGBTQ in Ghana, Ghana Beyond Aid, and gender. What did the audience who led the debate think about the program?
My best responses were to that of the LGBTQ. I think the overwhelming majority view must stand. Where I wasn't satisfied with the issues around sanitation one and Ghana Beyond Aid.
There were a few views that the audience were in support of, but I think generally it was good.
I'm Benes Abubedu, reporting for JoyNews.